Stormers season for 2020. It should be a pretty interesting one. They kind of disappointed the last couple of seasons under Robbie Fleck. I'll admit that the first couple of years under Fleck, I was kind of optimistic that things were going to go down the right path, and then it kind of stagnated and it just didn't happen. So John Dobson is in charge now. Of all the South African teams, you look at the lineup and think they probably retain talent better than anyone else. The number of names that remain on this list after the World Cup is pretty impressive. That being said, they still have lost some of the guys who were key for them last year and key for the Springboks at the World Cup. So, yeah, we'll go over the squad, talk a little about the fixtures and some of the expectations for these guys as well. If memory serves, I did a season review for those guys, so I'll chuck it up there if you're keen on seeing what happened in the 2019 season where things kind of didn't go right. But as I said, new coaching staff, so may not be relevant for that much on 2020. But let's have a look. It's a pretty big squad they've named. I think it's 45 players all up. Props, they've got Blossa, who didn't play last year, but he is retained from the squad last year. Fushia, who had 5 games last year, but the key names, I think, you got Kitsov still there, Wukolo is there, Franz Malherba is there. Other guys you've got in the squad, Leon Lyons and Sazi Sandi are up from the Curry Cup side, and you've still got Ali Vermaak there as well. Hookers, they've got 5 named. I would imagine some of these guys, they haven't officially named, kind of like a wider training squad, but Skulk Erasmus again from the wider Curry Cup squad. Dan Just, who played 1 game last season, Bongi Mbanambi and Skara Intubeni. You'd think these are your top 2 guys, and that's a pretty good 1-2 combo. Not that many squads have that kind of depth at hooker in terms of your number 2 guys. Very good. And Chad Solomon, who played 3 games last season as well. We haven't seen much of Ramon Samuel since a couple of years ago, so he seems to have kind of fallen off the scene. Ibn Itzebeth has left. That's about as big a name to leave as you can get. But you've still got Peter Steph du Toit, pretty helpful player to have around, World Player of the Year. You've still got JD Schickerling, if he can stay fit. From memory, he had a bit of an injury riddled season last year. He's a very good player. You've still got Salman Murat, who's been around the last couple of years. He played 5 games last year. Ernst van Rijn, 6 games last year. David Mayhazen, that guy's a big boy, 6'8", so 2.05 meters. And Chris Van Sale as well. So not apart from the loss of Itzebeth, it seems pretty much steady as she goes in the second row. Outside backs, the loose forwards, you got Ben Jason Dixon from the Curry Cup side. I don't know him at all. Johan du Toit, he proved himself pretty good last year. He's got a pretty big brother's shadow to come out from, but he seems to be doing okay thus far. Sia Kolisi, World Cup winning captain, pretty good player to have along as well. Kobus Visa and Nama Zaba. He didn't play last season, so I'm not so sure about him. Sikambuza Notcha has gone to the Sharks, and Chris Mason's gone to the Cheetahs. You still got Wano Augustus as well. He's one of these guys who's kind of had a big like potential slapped on him, and it's been a quiet couple of years, I guess. I don't remember if last season he got injured or if he just didn't get the game time. I've noted that he played 6 games last season, so hopefully we see him get a few more this year. Yako Kutsia is there as well. So that's the forwards. In terms of the backs, scrum halves, Paul de Vet, he didn't play last season. You got Herschel Yankees, who was a bit of a revelation last year, and for the Stormers, he was good, man. Like, he was the outstanding form 9 for all the South African teams last year, I thought, and he carried that form through once he got his deserved Springbok call-up. And Godlin Maisimla, from the Curry Cup squad. I don't know him, but they've got Herschel, and it's, I guess, figuring out who the backup is. The 10 jersey will be an interesting one. You still got Jean-Luc Duplessis. You still got Damien Willemse, although he may be flirting with a bit of time at fullback. We'll see. And then they've brought in a guy from the Curry Cup squad, Abner van Reenen. I haven't seen much of him, but I would imagine just by the reputation that he'll be the third string guy. But yes, you never know. Midfielders, so the big guys you've lost. I forgot to mention that in terms of your 10s, Josh Thunder has gone to Japan, but Damon Delende has left. JJ Engelbrecht's left. So the midfield situation is going to be much changed. You still got Dan Duplessis. They've brought in Michael Hasner from the Griquas. Lyle Hendricks from the Curry Cup side, Western Province. Matt Moore, apparently from Munster's Academy. I'm not sure about him. Ruan Nell's still there, which is good news. You got Rikus Pretorius again from the Western Province Curry Cup side. But the big name signing is Jamie Roberts, Welsh international, British and Irish Lion. Sure, he is at the tail end of his career, but if you're looking for a guy to run those same lines that Damon Delende was running last year, if he can stay fit, definitely is a very, very capable replacement. He obviously wants to get a bit of Southern Hemisphere rugby under his belt before he retires, so that's a very good news story. And then outside back, Sergio Peterson, Sebo Sanatla, Edville van der Merwe. Leolin Zas has come over from the Sharks. David Creel up from the under-21s. And Dylan Lades is still around as well. So they have lost Craig Barry, SP Maria, Eve Viljoen. So, I think John Dobson's got a fair bit to play with there. I mean, you've got some absolutely class outside backs. The midfield is one which has had a bit of change. So how he goes in choosing that. He's certainly got a lot of experience with Jamie Roberts to hopefully teach some of the younger guys as well. And a lot of potential. Guys like Damien Willemse, guys like Herschel Yankees, Augusta, still pretty young guys who can, even Johan Dutoy as well. He's 24, I think. So these guys get some experience under their belt and really, really take the step up. I mean, I've looked at the odds for the Super Rugby teams in terms of the bookmakers, and the Stormers are your favoured South African team, and that's, I would imagine, largely due to their signings. And their signings are not, Roberts is obviously a big one, but I think the key signings for them were the retention of guys like Peter Steph du Toit, of Stephen Kitsoff, Sio Kolisi, the fact that they were able to hang on to these guys. I mean, sure, they lost their Tibet, they lost their Linde, but they managed to retain a lot of talent, whereas other teams in the South African conference, anyway, at least the South African team, seem to have bled a fair bit of talent overseas. So, good on the Stormers guys for sticking around, and for the administrators for signing them up to contracts. In terms of the fixtures list for the Stormers, I actually think it's better than the last few years. They've had kind of the short end of the stick with fixtures. They have the Stormers, but I think this time they get a decent shake. Hopefully the injuries thing can settle down, because the Stormers the last few years have had terrible luck with injuries, kind of like the Chiefs. So again, new coaching staff, maybe they were being overtrained. Who knows? But the Stormers start 2 home games. You got Hurricanes and Bulls. That's a decent start, I think, to have a couple of home games. Then you got an away game in Johannesburg to play the Lions. Then you got the Jaguares and Blues at home. So 4 of the first 5 games are at home. So that is going to mean fewer home games in the latter half of the season. But it gives you a good platform to build on the season. Like, if you can get 4 out of 5 wins, the guys are going to be in a good place mentally. They're going to be motivated. Whereas if you lose 4 of the first 5 and then you've got your home games at the end, it may seem like a bit too much to kind of come back. So they can certainly put themselves on the front foot with those first 5 games. And then they have a bye to rest things up before going away to the Sharks and away to the High Warriors. Back to South Africa for 2 home games, the Rebels and the Waratahs, so they'll be definitely targeting those games if the away trips didn't go that well. Away trips have been a problem for the Stormers under Fleck, but we'll see under Dobson. I think the placement of their bye, which is in round 11, is a bit unfortunate because they got the Waratahs at home, then the bye, then the Sharks at home, then their trip to Australia and New Zealand. It would have been better if they'd shifted the bye around, so they could have had Rebels, Waratahs, Sharks at home, bye, and then the 4 away games, because it just means that they can plan their trip. They could, leave early or whatever, but they're not given the option. They've got to finish a game and then straight on a plane. Chiefs away, Crusaders away is probably the toughest of the 2 New Zealand teams, at least on paper this year. So that's unfortunate. And then the Brumbies and the Sunwolves away. So the Brumbies, again, are probably the toughest looking at the moment of the Aussie team. So that's a very hard away trip. But the Sunwolves may be a bit of an easier one. We'll see. And then the Lions have to visit Cape Town, but that's straight after that trip to Japan. And then I think it is Japan this year rather than Singapore. And then the final game is away to the Bulls. So the tail end of that season for the Stormers is hard. They're going to need to really put themselves in front in the first half of the season and then pick up whatever points they can away from home, I think. But I still think it's decent enough that they can kind of have their destiny in their own hands as they go, into the tail end of the season. But we will see how the Stormers go. Like I said, I'm hoping they kind of reach a bit more of that potential, because I think the last year especially was a real letdown. It is a change of coach, so hopefully that is a bit of a shift. We've seen a bit of a change of personnel, but the core of the squad is still there to build on. So, we'll see how things go. You let me know your thoughts, how you think the Stormers are going to go. Like I said, they're the top-ranked South African team in terms of their place in the bookmakers' odds. So do you think that's correct, or do you think there are problems here? Any of these guys who I mentioned that have come up into the team, like especially the ones from the Currie Cup sides, I haven't probably seen them play, so any insights into them are also most welcome. But cheers guys, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.